good evening and thanks for tuning in to this edition of Plain Speak. I'm Kritsween Valia and well viewers, it's becoming clearer with each passing day that Khalistani terrorist Arsh Dalla's quote-unquote detention in Canada was nothing but a mere eyewash since Canada has been facing internal pressure to not open a full-fledged probe against Dalla. The Justin Trudeau government is bound by several compulsions and conditional support, quote-unquote conditional support by Canada-based NDP, the political party NDP, and it seems to be one of the biggest driving factors behind Trudeau's shield to K-goons. But now, with Arsh Dalla's charge sheet going public, experts are pointing out how there could be more to it than what meets the eye. The Trump victory in the United States has likely forced this public exposure of Arsh Dalla and his involvement in a shootout incident that goes back to October 28th. Arsh Dalla was first held by the Canadian police on 28th of last month, yet the charge sheet was revealed only after Trump won the elections in the United States. Why? What explains the hush-hush around his possible arrest for more than a week? But naturally, Arsh Dalla's public exposure would have embarrassed the Canadian government since India, remember, has made it known to the whole world that he's a wanted criminal in India and faces multiple criminal charges. But the change of guard in the United States may have just played a big role in this revelation, and Canada now finds itself in a tough spot. Let's first take you through the charge sheet accessed by CNN News 18. Remember, like I said, the incident goes back to the 28th of last month when Arsh Dalla was held by the Canadian police in connection with a shootout incident and has been booked under 11 counts. Taking you through all of those charges one by one to complete the entire story and put this in perspective. Number one being unauthorized possession of rifle. In continuation, unauthorized possession of shotguns. So those are the two big charges why he's been booked by the Canadian police. Arsh has also been booked for careless use of firearm. The police observed 2 bullet casings inside the vehicle on the passenger seat, which indicated that a firearm had been discharged from within the vehicle. Both Arsh Dalla and his accomplice have also been booked for tampering of evidence. Further, they've also been booked for possession of a prohibited device. These are the details that we found out through the charge sheet. Lastly, for unauthorized possession in motor vehicles. Remember, the two reached a hospital after Arsh Dalla sustained a bullet injury, and that's when the police first received a call from the hospital and then began investigating the same. Now, who is Arsh Dalla? For those of you who don't know about his notorious background, he's a Khalistani terrorist and close aide of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He's associated with the band Khalistan Tiger Force and ran terror modules on behalf of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He allegedly also runs a terror network from Canada. Though he was born in Punjab, he now stays with his family in Canada's Surrey. He's also accused of orchestrating multiple killings in the state of Punjab, back here in India. Not just murders and extortion, Arsh Dalla is allegedly involved in cross-border smuggling of drugs and weapons as well. He's also accused of terror financing and raising terror modules, all of this being carried out by him for at least over 2 years now back in Canada. Most importantly, there is a Pakistan link to him as well. Arsh Dalla's alleged links with Pakistan's ISI and Lashkar-e-Toiba. We both know what that means. We all know what that means. In fact, he's an accused in various cases registered by the NI as well, including disturbing communal harmony, creating terror among people of Punjab. And it's only in January 2022 that the MHA designated him a terrorist, and ever since has sought his provisional arrest and also extradition. But none of that seems to have fallen right for Canada, as Canada's failed to act on any of those requests put out by India. What we're now learning is that while the Canadian police kept his possible arrest under the wraps for more than a week, here's why post-elections in the United States, these details are suddenly known to one and all. Why is it being linked to the US elections and the result and Trump's victory in the elections? There's been a strategy recalibration clearly after Trump win, owing to Trump's harsh rhetoric, perhaps on issues like immigration and nationalism. Is why, though Arsh Dalla was detained over a shooting incident in October, this happened on the 28th of October last month, but the details have slowly trickled in over the last few days itself. This also explains why, after acting as mute spectators against the Khalistani mob on the day of temple vandalism and violence in Surrey and Brampton, We saw the Canadian police finally arrest some of those involved in the rampage, including Sikhs for Justice Canada coordinator. And this, remember, arrest took place just 2 days ago. So that also gets a little bit of an explanation and a link being drawn to the US election results. This is why several experts believe that Trump's stance on terror has prompted this rethink on part of Canada. And this, ladies and gentlemen, remember, is in India's interest because of the reason that for far too long we've seen both Canada and United States to an extent turn a blind eye to India's growing concerns over the Khalistani threat emerging on foreign soil, both in Canada and the United States. So Trump's stand does give India's version credibility, and that's why we're asking this big question on what this means for India and whether these arrests now taking place in Canada and perhaps a rethink on part of the Canadian establishment, the authorities, does that mean advantage India in the context of the change of power in the United States? Remember, Trump yet to take over as the president, but the signs are slowly emerging. We'll take that up in just a bit, but here's the story so far.
It is obvious that the government of India made a fundamental error in thinking that they could engage in supporting criminal activity against Canadians here on Canadian soil.
And joining us on this edition of Plain Speak are Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat. We also have Sushant Sareen, senior fellow RF with us. And Ramneek Singh Maan, activist, completes the panel this evening. It's a very interesting scenario really playing out. Mr. Sajjanhar, I want to first up come to you. Do you also perhaps get a sense of how the results in the United States may have an impact on what Justin Trudeau will do going forward? Because an arrest such important, an arrest which is as important as this one, you know, being leaked to the public after more than a week's time, right after US elections, that's being spoken of most certainly in a manner in which people are saying that Trump, his policies are going to see a direct impact for sure.
Yeah, I think it does appear that there is a linkage between the two, that Trump's victory in the elections has definitely contributed to the actions that Canada has taken. Of course, at this moment, you know, there is no direct evidence or connection that one can put, but definitely the manner in which Canada has been behaving all this time, you know, starting from 18 September last year when Justin Trudeau got up in the parliament and said that there are credible allegations. Until now, there has been no evidence that has been provided, or to the time when more recently, you know, it was alleged that, you know, the Indian High Commissioner is involved in some way in some oppressive actions against South Asians in Canada, or the fact, you know, releasing this sensitive and confidential information to the Washington Post, charging that, you know, the Indian Home Minister could in some way be involved in this. Again, none of this has been, you know, substantiated by any evidence whatsoever. So, you know, the fact that Canada has decided to come clean on this, so to say, at this stage, does appear that, you know, the risk and, you know, what they can foresee in terms of the pressure that could be coming on them from the United States, because we have seen that in his first term, Mr. Trump was, you know, rather dismissive and disdainful, if I can use these words, of Justin Trudeau. When he had gone there for the G7 summit, he sort of, you know, left without even attending the final session there. And then I think the nomination of Tim Walz, the congressman from Florida, who has very strong views about the presence of Khalistani separatists and extremists on the Canadian territory, and he's spoken out against it, and he is very vocal. He is the co-chair of the India caucus, so he knows India well, he knows India's concerns very well. And we know that as far as this Arsh Dalla fellow is there, he's been in Canada since 2018. There are, I understand, more than 46 FIRs that have been registered against him in different states of India, and he's carried out many killings, he's carried out many extortions, and after Hardeep Singh Nijjar, he's also taken over the helmsmanship and the leadership of the Khalistan Tiger Force. So I think definitely Canada would have felt that the pressure is going to mount. But frankly, Yushlin, I will not hold my breath that Canada is going to take any concrete action, any significant action against this person. I think the best that they could do, in fact, what they should be doing, as they should have done with so many others against whom extradition requests have been placed by India, 26 such cases on which no action has been taken by Canada. In this case also, I think if he can be extradited, because he's a known terrorist, he's been an identified terrorist in India, I think that would at least redeem a little bit of the credibility of Canada, that they are, have started to see the light of the day. But otherwise, I am not very sanguine in terms of what future action they are going to take. I will wait and watch as to what they do going forward.
Okay, and to take what you're saying forward, many do in fact believe that he's more safe than ever before now under the custody of, the Canadian police, especially from gangs and perhaps Indian authorities as well. But that said, Mr. Sushant Sareen, how would you look at this? Do you think Donald Trump's victory is going to deal a blow to Khalistani backers, because it's being spoken of, it's being linked to the US elections and the results that have come in?
So I think one, at least as far as this Arsh Dalla case is concerned, I think this is more of a coincidence. I don't think his arrest or that information was released, keeping an eye on the US election. I think it was a coincidence, and the Canadian media, maybe because it is like completely sold out and bought over by the Canadian government, and just, it's like the Pravda of the old days, or the People's Daily of today. It's completely controlled media. So maybe, they never decided to leak this information, or at least air it. But I don't think there is anything more than a coincidence, number one. Number two, I don't even think that the Canadian authorities have acted against this low-life terrorist because suddenly they're coming clean. I think these guys are far too deeply embedded in the Canadian political system as funders, as legislators, a whole lot of them, and across parties. They are in the Conservative Party, maybe a little less. And this is not just, the people from the Sikh community. These are some of the crypto Khalistanis are also within the Hindu community, including people who are running some temples, including members of Trudeau cabinet like Anita Anand and some of these others. A whole lot of these characters are involved with this entire mafia. So I think we need to be careful about, expecting anything to come out of it. Okay. Third, the justice system is so compromised that even when you catch a guy smuggling a truck full of drugs, he is given bail within 24 hours. I don't foresee Arsh Dalla being in custody for very long, unless, of course, it's for the reason that you mentioned, that he's probably safer in the custody of Canadian authorities than he is outside. But on the Trump administration, I think I don't see any reform coming in the Canadians. I think they're too down their rat hole to come out of it. But I think on the American side, if the new administration or the incoming administration is actually going to crack down on the so-called deep state, they are going to crack down on the kind of shenanigans which organizations like the CIA or the FBI play, using it as a leverage against India to force India into some kind of, compromise on some issues which they want, use it, for pin-pricking India. I think some of that is likely to stop. For again, the same you suggested that some of the people who are going to be members of the new government and people who are very close to this government understand where India is coming from. That entire canard and that scurrilous campaign that has been carried out by these rags like Washington Post and New York Times,
Right.
everybody has seen what they are worth, right? And everybody knows that there is not even an iota of truth in what they. It's a bunch of half truths which they then nicely dress up to as some kind of reality in India. It's not that. So I think there are people in the new administration who will be sympathetic to India's concerns, and I would not be surprised that those idiotic videos that Pannu and other characters make, they might become a thing of the past, and maybe you will also stop seeing some of the kind of actions that these thugs and terrorists have been taking, whether attacking Hindu temples, vandalizing temples, threatening diplomats, issuing blood-curdling threats against Indian airlines and others. I think some of that is also going to come to a stop. At least that's the hope.
Okay, so a very balanced argument there by you, Mr. Sushant Sareen. And that's why I began by saying this evening that, as far as this arrest is concerned, it does, or quote-unquote arrest, detention, call it what you may, it's nothing but a mere eyewash because there's been so much hush-hush, there's been so many secrets around it. One really doesn't know where the investigations are headed, what the current status of the probe is, so on and so forth. But Ramneek Singh Mann, I also want to talk about the Trump link to this because going by his past actions, going by Donald Trump's past statements, he does seem to be aligning with the moderate Sikhs or the Hindu nationalists. He strongly advocated against separatism, and that's what is being looked at when we look at an overall view of how Donald Trump may take this forward, don't you think?
Okay, so let's try and put it this way. He's aligning with the law-abiding people, or he's aligning with the people who are reasonable, logical, sensible, that you can discuss, talk, and sit across tables with. So that's one. And also, if I may put forward, that he's put Thomas Homan, that's Strom Homan, as Czar for border security. He's somebody who's going to be in charge of the largest quote-unquote illegal migrants deportation in the U.S. history. So we know that Homan is in charge in the US, but there is no man in charge in Canada. So interestingly, again, there are 26 requests for extradition, 29 for arrest, and the list is very, very long, and the list keeps growing by every single day. But the Canadians have been turning a blind eye, and I personally, for the reason, because for a lack of a better, well, I will not then, I'll avoid. For lack of better understanding on the part of the Prime Minister of Canada, that he can't differentiate between terrorists and honorable citizens. He can't differentiate between who to get inside the country and who to throw out. And he is hobnobbing and he's sleeping with the Khalistanis, who are in turn being funded, as we know, by the drug lords or the drug money, the blood money, the gangsters, the criminal elements. You know, this guy, Arsh Dalla, you keep showing on the television screen, there's 67 FIRs. He's a proclaimed offender in 11 cases. He must be back in India, tried, I mean, not for the shooting, but for the murders that he's committed in India. Especially, the Congress leader in Moga, who, he's shot at himself. So there are things which the Canadians need to really comprehend now and see. And I feel that Trudeau, over the last 9 years, he's taken Canada down the rat hole so deep. The end of the tunnel seems very, very far to me, and I don't see any light till Justin is there. I mean, I don't see any justice under Justin's watch. So, yeah, I mean, his own party colleagues, his own ministers are requesting him to step down, but he's in a arrangement with the pro-Khalistani Jagmeet, who is not even a part of the government, so he's not going to take the blame. I mean, there's a very strange coalition in Canada where...
Besides, I don't think NDP really cares about what India truly feels.
No answerability, yes.
Absolutely. And, as for Justin Trudeau, he seems to be caught in this tug of war, between the internal pressures that his minority government continues to face and the external pressure that countries like India continue to mount, and to an extent the United States now. But Ashok Sajjanhar, that brings me to another important point. We're talking about, the change in dynamics as far as the US leadership is concerned, and whether or not it will have a direct impact on how Canada acts on all of these elements back on Canadian soil. But as far as United States is concerned as well, yes, we can be a little hopeful with the Trump presidency as compared to a Biden presidency or, a possible Kamala Harris presidency. But the United States may have not been as vocal, as aggressive about, the Khalistani threat to India. But it's been subtle, and it too hasn't done much about it. So the United States has remained a mute spectator too.
No, that's right. I think it has remained a mute spectator. But, when we had similar cases that, the Canadians said that there are credible allegations, what the Americans said that they have evidence. So, they came, didn't rise up in the Congress or go up on the pulpit and declare to all and sundry, to the whole world, that, we have this issue, we have this problem, and we are going to sort it out with India. It is when Biden came to India in September last year, this issue was known, the whole issue of Nikhil Gupta and all that sort of things, that had come to the attention, that had come to the knowledge of the Americans, middle of last year. But what the Americans try to do is try to discuss it off, the media and in a one-to-one conversations. But, so this is a difference. They had some evidence. They shared that evidence with India. India said that, that evidence we are going to investigate, because the whole issue is does not, have a bearing only as far as America is concerned, but also it, as far as India's interests are concerned, they are also going to be affected by it. So for our own interests, we are going to investigate the whole issue. Now the matter has gone to the court, and we'll see what the court does. But otherwise, we have not seen the sort of statements that have emanated from RCMP that, surreptitiously that have been put in papers in Washington Post, sensitive information for which you have no evidence, or the Prime Minister or senior officials getting up, RCMP leaders getting up and making these allegations and charges. You have not seen any of that coming out of the United States. So I think it has been the manner in which it has conducted itself has been more restrained, has been more sober. But again, I think this conversation will have to take place. The sort of threats that have been emanating from people like
Very interesting you say that, Mr. Sajjanhar, because that's one aspect of things. That's one side to how we can see the United States approach going forward. But Mr. Sushant Sareen, the other aspect is the manner in which Donald Trump, for instance, I want to talk about, the manner in which he had called out the Canadian police when a young Hindu boy faced off with some of the Khalistani supporters, Khalistani radicals, call them what you may. But that's when he called out the Canadian police, and he's been extremely scathing in his commentary as far as, the issues of separatism, so on and so forth are concerned. So one can expect a stern Trump take this head on, don't you think?
I don't think it will be his priority. But I think what will happen is, and I think that is something Ramneek has also indicated, the new czar of border security coming in, this racket which some of these characters had started running, that even people who were going from Gujarat were claiming asylum in the US, right? All of that nonsense is going to end. And if you take the words of Tom Homan seriously, and I think we should, he's very clear that even if you're applying for asylum, you come through the normal port of entry. You don't enter illegally. If you enter illegally, you're going to be deported. Then you're not liable to receive asylum, right? So I will not be surprised that many of these characters who run around, strut around with these Khalistani flags and want to get mugshots and then use that to apply for asylum, most of them have legally. Most of them are likely to get deported. So all of them are going to be like running like rats, hiding in their holes so that they are not going to be deported. Some of them are will be caught and will be deported. And I think justice should be served on them in India to make examples of them. One. Secondly, a whole lot of these characters are likely to go and make a beeline for Canada because they have a safe haven out there under the Trudeau administration and under other systems. So I will not be surprised that if you see a steep decline in their activity in the United States, and you will see maybe even an uptick in their activity in Canada.
Oh, very interesting.
But again, conversation we can have with the Americans, because ultimately the Canadians don't count for anything. They really don't matter.
Okay.
What matters is US, and if you have a government in the United States which is well disposed towards India, even the Biden government wasn't bad for India. Actually, it's only in the last 6-8 months, 1 year, that suddenly the vokes in the US system started.
That's as far as the small actors are concerned. Ramneek, before I quickly end this, because I'm running out of time, what about the big actors like Gurpatwant Pannu? What can we expect on that front? Because do remember, it's a known fact that elements like him have been treated with kid gloves. They've been in United States and Canada because he enjoys a dual citizenship, has been blatantly issuing threat after threat to India and has just gone away with it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I feel, the government of India should, by tonight, send a dossier to the United States government asking for his deportation or asking for his arrest and for his trial in India for several counts of crimes that have been encouraged or participated by him or been sponsored by him. That is one. But two, also interestingly, is Donald Trump's comments on both Jagmeet and Justin Trudeau. I mean, Donald Trump is on record addressing Jagmeet Singh as fake, phony, and a fraud. So, I mean, that's the level of, the confidence these people enjoy with the upcoming President of the United States. So, come January 2025, things are going to be very different for these Khalistanis, both in the US and in Canada. I feel that the Indian government should press on the gas pedal and take some speed on trying getting these people back in India, try them, and make an example, set an example of them. And I also agree with you when you said that, probably Dalla is more safe in the police custody than he's open, because there are a lot of people who will be now getting after him and likes of him, not just him, but likes of him.
Okay, so there's one thing that we all here agree to. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Let's see how this plays out. The next 4 years perhaps are going to make the picture amply clear on how India views this on part of Donald Trump and his administration. We are in a very short break with that. On the other side, after a break, we will talk about Donald Trump and how he's made his first picks for his 2.0 administration. Why is that good news for India? We'll decode the same in just a bit. Keep watching.
Yeah, Ajay, look at your dad. Will we be the same at his age?
Absolutely yes, if we plan our future like him.
How?
My father had invested in LIC's Jeevan Akshay, which gives immediate and guaranteed annuity at regular intervals, that too for life.
Wow. But do we have to wait until his age?
Absolutely not. We recently invested in LIC's new Jeevan Shanti, which gives deferred annuity, which means regular income after some years.
I see.
LIC.
LIC's annuity plans give 10 annuity options and flexibility in receiving regular income. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ. हम रातों में
It's done.
अप्पा, नया घर कैसा लगा?
हर दिल को छू जाए ऐसी रोशनी लाते हैं फिलिप्स से हम जिंदगी की रौनक बढ़ाते हैं.
Philips. The next Indian icons, beating everyone on the globe. B6E and XEV9E. Mahindra's electric origin SUVs. Catch them at Unlimit India.
You will be the first to transform into agents with powers beyond those of mortal man. Or you might just explode. We don't really know. I give you the Mega Minions.
Good luck with that.
यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के विजन के अनुरूप माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ के प्रगतिशील नेतृत्व में अविस्मरणीय यादों के साथ संपन्न हुआ प्रयागराज कुंभ 2019 जैसा कीर्तिमान बनाने के लिए महाकुंभ 2025 के सफल आयोजन को तैयार है कर्मयोगी सरकार। स्वच्छ महाकुंभ, हरित महाकुंभ के अनुरूप पौधरोपण, पार्कों का जीर्णोद्धार एवं सौंदर्यीकरण के विभिन्न कार्यों से महाकुंभ में आने वाले पर्यटकों को होगी विशेष अनुभूति। कूड़ा प्रबंधन, ठोस अपशिष्ट निस्तारण और पॉलीथीन फ्री महाकुंभ के लिए बनाई गई है विशेष कार्य योजना। श्रद्धालुओं की सुविधा के लिए 1,45,000 शौचालय का कराया जा रहा है निर्माण। सौंदर्यीकरण और मेला थीमेटिक लाइटिंग के कार्यों से कुंभ नगरी प्रयागराज को मिला है नव्य स्वरूप। मानवता की अमूर्त सांस्कृतिक धरोहर महाकुंभ 2025 में अमृत स्नान का पुण्य कमाने आओ चलें महाकुंभ।
ओके किड्स, लेट्स प्ले। आप बड़े होके क्या बनोगे?
मैम, आज आप बताओ।
आप बड़े होकर क्या बनोगे?
अभी स्कूल टीचर हूँ, बाद में प्रिंसिपल, फिर रिटायर्ड,
फिर उसके बाद?
हाँ मैम, आप बूढ़े होके क्या बनोगे? अपनी खुशियों वाली रिटायर्ड लाइफ की प्लानिंग करो आज से विद आदित्य बिरला सन लाइफ इंश्योरेंस।
स्टूडेंट, पीएचडी स्टूडेंट।
आप बूढ़े होके क्या बनोगे?
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
हाँ भाई, क्या हाल?
हाय, पढ़ाई खत्म हो गई। हाँ यार, रिजल्ट भी अच्छा रहा। हाँ यार, तू क्यों इतनी दुखी है? अब आगे का क्या प्लान है? पता नहीं, अब किसी अच्छी सी कंपनी में ना मौका मिल जाए बस। अरे उसके लिए भी तो एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए नहीं? और एक्सपीरियंस के लिए जॉब। हमसे कुछ नहीं हो सकता।
अरे गाइस, हो सकता है और होगा।
पर कैसे?
ये देखो, मोदी जी की पीएम इंटर्नशिप स्कीम से। चलो देखते हैं। अगली 5 सालों में 21 से 24 साल के 1 करोड़ यंगस्टर्स को टॉप कंपनियों में मिलेगी 12 महीने की इंटर्नशिप और हर महीने 5,000 रुपए भी, साथ ही 6,000 रुपए का वन टाइम ग्रांट भी। तो लेट्स लर्न फ्रॉम दी काबिलियत को अनुभव से जोड़ेगी पीएम इंटर्नशिप स्कीम। विजिट करें pminternship.mca.gov.in या डायल करें टोल फ्री नंबर 1800-116-090।
झंझनाहट से जल्द आराम पाएं। सेंसोडाइन रैपिड रिलीफ के साथ।
Mama told me to be loved.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Welcome back. In the United States, President-elect Donald Trump is assembling his administration team. While the initial appointments focused on crucial policy-making areas, Trump clearly is moving forward with his MAGA vision. But not only is it about making America great again, there's also an underlying factor that could benefit India in the entire process. Let's begin with taking a look at the who's who of Trump 2.0 first. The one commodity that bonds the Trump 2.0 team is their ultra loyalty for Donald Trump. Susie Wiles, who served as the principal advisor for Trump campaign, has been nominated as the chief of staff. Mike Waltz as the national security advisor. Top sources in fact say Marco Rubio is likely to take over as the Secretary of State, with Tom Homan, the former immigration and customs enforcement leader, being appointed as border czar. It seems that Trump indeed will walk the talk on his immigration policies. Furthermore, Elise Stefanik has been appointed as the ambassador to the United Nations. Stephen Miller has been chosen as the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, and Lee Zeldin has been nominated to lead the Environmental Protection Agency. Trump 2.0 is also an India-friendly team, and we say this for a reason. Let's talk about all of those names and what they indicate. Michael Waltz, the present president of the Senate India Caucus, a bipartisan coalition that promotes a relationship between India and the United States. That's number one. Marco Rubio, yet another senior congressman, is rumored to take charge as next United States Secretary of State, which is again good news for India. Walz has been hawkish on China. He's even called for a boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing due to its involvement in the origin of COVID-19 and its alleged mistreatment of Uyghur Muslims. Over the years, Rubio not only has championed efforts to deepen cooperation between the two countries, but his support for India also aligns with bipartisan efforts in Congress to counterbalance China's influence in Asia. In the meanwhile, Mike Waltz has been a fervent proponent of stronger defense ties with India. While Rubio in the past introduced a bill to treat India on par with other allies of the United States. So that's why it's shaping up really well for India and what India-US ties are going to look like in days to come. We head into a short break. Coming up after the break, reservation politics has made a big comeback in battleground Maharashtra. The Prime Minister says Congress will snatch reservations, but will that call resonate? Rahul Gandhi too has responded. We'll be right back with the latest.
Brought to you by MG Windsor EV. Live business class. LIC. जिंदगी के साथ भी जिंदगी के बाद भी. Philips. हम रातों में सूरज उगाते हैं.
Dadu,
Yes?
what does premium mean?
Beta, premium you can say is like petrol. The car will keep going till the time it has petrol. Once petrol is over, the car stops.
But Dad, this time even if the petrol is over, our car won't stop.
How come?
With LIC's Jeevan Labh, even after the premium payment tenure is over, the policy's benefits continue.
That means our journey of happiness will continue non-stop.
LIC, हर पल आपके साथ. विचार नए हैं तो अब नया विकास हो, पुरानी इस जमीन पे नया इतिहास हो. जरूरतें हैं पानी की जो दूर दूर तक, पियो ना ऊक से पियो जितनी भी प्यास हो. एक बार हमारा नाम लो तो एहसास हो, विचार नए हैं तो अब नया विकास हो. उन उंगलियों की खैर जो धागों को बुनती हो, फ्यूचर का ख्वाब देखो तो तकिए के पास हो. उड़कर चलो ना फ्लाईओवर से तो जानोगे हम कितना कुछ बनाते हैं विकास के लिए. उम्मीदें भर के देते हैं हर एक चीज में हम हैं ना, अगर आपकी उम्मीद खास हो. जुड़े हैं हम 140 करोड़ लोगों से, चारों ओर देखो तो एहसास हो. विचार नए हैं तो अब नया विकास हो. वेलस्पन वर्ल्ड.
Hello, I am R. Shankar Raman. In infrastructure, leadership means creating lasting value through strategic decisions. At the India Business Leader Awards, we honor those who turn vision into action. Together, let's celebrate the trailblazers who lead with purpose and act with conviction.
Presented by Standard Chartered in association with Reliance Industries Limited.
The next Indian icons, beating everyone on the globe. B6E and XEV9E. Mahindra's electric origin SUVs. Catch them at Unlimit India.
आप सब जानते हैं कांग्रेस का अगला सदर ही आजाद हिंदुस्तान पहला प्राइम मिनिस्टर बने. सबने एकमत होके सरदार पटेल को चुना.
इस पार्टी को हम सबको सरदार की जरूरत है और देश को जवाहर की.
Freedom at Midnight 15 नवंबर से सोनी लिव पर.
सर आप बहुत लकी है कि आपके बेटे ने हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस और बाकी सारी फॉर्मेलिटीज टाइम से पूरी कर दी है.
मेरा बेटा?
तो फिर आप?
पॉलिसी बाजार.
क्लेम के टाइम पे हमेशा आपकी हेल्प को तैयार. पॉलिसी बाजार 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 390 रुपए महीने से शुरू.
We're very lucky as Colgate, having been in India for 87 years, to really enjoy an exceptionally high level of trust. The second, of course, is not to take that trust for granted and to make sure that you're moving with the times, to make sure that your products are constantly improving, to make sure that nowadays especially that you have a purpose, and that's where, you know, this entire idea of the oral health movement and our mission of making oral health better for every single Indian.
Colgate Oral Health Movement in partnership with News 18 Network and Indian Dental Association. Tanth hit में जारी.
आ गया आपका नया बिरला ओपस पेंट।
नया इंटीरियर पेंट, नॉट स्मार्ट एट ऑल। वो खरीदो जो सब खरीदते हैं।
नया बिरला ओपस 10% फ्री पेंट देता है, देखो।
दिमाग मत लगा, वो लगा।
इनको जमाने से पीछे चलने दो, आप चुनो नया बिरला ओपस पेंट्स।
Mama told me to.
Welcome back. The campaign for Maharashtra has reached fever pitch. BJP star campaigner Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Chandrapur earlier today when he sharpened his attack against the Congress. He accused the party of dividing the Adivasi community into different castes and weakening them. While reiterating his "Ek hai to safe hai" call, the Prime Minister said that if the Adivasi community gets divided into castes, it will end its identity and strength. He also said the Congress would snatch reservation if voted to power. This was said by the Prime Minister at the first rally he held today in Maharashtra. In the latest, though, Rahul Gandhi has responded with equal force. He's promised to breach the 50% reservation cap if voted to power. So that's the non-stop exchange that's taking place between the BJP and the Congress. But what exactly is the Congress party's stand on quota, as is being spoken of by the Bharatiya Janata Party? Rahul Gandhi, remember, on his recent trip abroad said when India is ready for it, reservation will be ended, though he later clarified that comment when he was back home. His father, Rajiv Gandhi, a staunch critic of the Mandal Commission report, had called it a bid to break the country apart. Indira Gandhi also voiced strong opposition as far as caste politics is concerned. And in Karnataka, where the Congress created a hullabaloo over the caste census report, yet to release the results even months after. And all of this today is being cited by the Bharatiya Janata Party in saying that the Congress, if voted to power, will end reservation. So Maharashtra elections just around the corner. It's the last leg of campaigning. The Prime Minister says the Congress will end quota, but whose claim is valid? That's the big question we'll take up in just a bit. Here are the reactions that have come in so far.
कांग्रेस ने तो तब भी एक तरह से कह दिया था कि आरक्षण की कोई जरूरत नहीं है, ऐसा कांग्रेस वाले बोलने की हिम्मत करते थे। आज भी कांग्रेस दबंगों की भाषा बोल रही है कि दलितों, पिछड़ों, आदिवासियों का आरक्षण खत्म कर देंगे।
उन्होंने स्कीम शुरू की है, उसके बाद धमकियां, रोज महिलाओं को धमकियां दी जा रही है। बीजेपी के पास कुछ एजेंडा ही नहीं है, उनका खुद का काम ही नहीं है कुछ किया हुआ, सिर्फ महंगाई, बेरोजगारी और भ्रष्टाचार, इकोनॉमिक इशू, इसी पे कंप्लीटली फेल है ये सरकार।
तो पहला काम जाति जनगणना, दूसरा काम ये जो 50% का बना रखा है, रिजर्वेशन का लिमिट लगा रखा है, इसको तोड़ के हम अलग कर देंगे, परे कर देंगे।
Let's open this up. We have Bhavna Sharma Jain, spokesperson of the Congress, Sanjay Rana, political analyst, and CS Jha, leader of Shiv Sena UBT with us. But my first question is to Charu Pragya, spokesperson of the BJP. It indeed has been a interesting day in terms of campaigning, as was expected, with the top guns of the Bharatiya Janata Party, the Congress, all in battleground Maharashtra. So we were expecting a lot of fireworks, and that's what's truly happened. Charu, tell us a little bit about what you make of the latest comment that's come in from Rahul Gandhi. He says we'll breach the 50% cap on reservation, also has spoken of the caste census promise of the Congress party.
Christine, good evening to you, and it's lovely to be on your show after such a long break. Everything that Rahul Gandhi says needs to be taken not just with a pinch of salt, I would say a bucket full of salt, because I don't think he remembers what he said in his previous speeches. So here is a leader who's highly inconsistent in the kind of statements he makes publicly. Here is a leader who says one thing when he's on foreign soil and he completely does a U-turn when he is back in India. Here is a leader whose whole family, political lineage and party have a history of, in fact, not standing with the people who were left behind as India progressed. His father is very famous for saying कि आरक्षण के नाम पर मैं बुद्धुओं को बढ़ावा नहीं देने वाला. In the name of reservation, I am not going to allow fools to get ahead. His father, in fact, had a very famous debate in the Lok Sabha when he spoke about why a constitutional status should not be given to the OBCs. The Kaka Kelkar report, the Mandal Commission report, all of this adds up. And what is Rahul Gandhi saying today? Are you saying you're going to change the constitution to change the 50% reservation cap? Are you saying that meritocracy is going to be over in this country? Are you trying to again push your narrative of jitni abadi utna haq? And if that is the case, then your party has tried for long enough to divide this country in the name of religion. You have failed repeatedly. Now you're trying to divide this country in the name of caste by going on and on and on about this caste census, which doesn't have any takers, by the way. We saw the way India responded in Lok Sabha elections. We saw the way Haryana responded in the Vidhan Sabha elections. But you did do a caste survey in Karnataka, did you not? Where is that survey?
No, but the whole Samvidhan khatre mein hai, and the BJP will change, the reservation system in India. All of that seems to have worked out partially, if not completely, for the opposition in Lok Sabha elections.
I don't
Clearly,
think so.
400 par hasn't happened, Jaru.
See, 400 par was a high aim we set for us. But let's not forget that we have formed the government for a third time in a row. And I can get into a lot of data, statistics, etc. to show you how that is unprecedented, not just in India, in the entire world. This is a record being created. At the end of the day, the bogey of the constitution being changed has been called out, because it is the Congress, in fact, who goes all out talking about wanting to change the constitution. In fact, they've insulted the constitution so much that Rahul Gandhi has walked around with a copy of the constitution, the first page of which talks about the dark era which his grandmother got around. And in Maharashtra, he allegedly distributed copies of the constitution which were blank on the inside, which seems to be what is the situation with his political speeches everywhere and his political understanding of backward class politics in India.
Okay, so let me take that to Bhavna. Bhavna, how would you respond to that? The whole reservation, Samvidhan khatre mein hai narrative seems to have taken a full circle. You know, it's now being used by the Bharatiya Janata Party against the Congress. They're saying you are in fact going to snatch away reservation from the SC, STs, OBCs and give it to the minority community. And you heard the Prime Minister today, sound that warning bell in Maharashtra.
Christine, I want to just say here that BJP has been in power in Maharashtra now for so long, and then they have nothing to show for what they have to offer to the people or what they have done as work for people of Maharashtra. People of Maharashtra, from Shahu Phule Ambedkar's legacy, they carry on the thought process of Shahu Phule Ambedkar. Congress is aligned with that belief and ideology. What Rahulji has outrightly said over and over again, which these people cannot even decipher what he's talking about. He's talking about a caste census and caste-based census to determine the economic, socio-economic status of every family in this country. And to give them the rights. Charu, I didn't speak in between you. So please let me finish.
Let her complete, Charu. Yeah, go ahead.
We are talking about the rights of those people who have been left out, completely left out of the current reservation.
But that's
system.
when the BJP is showing this list of Congress leaders who've spoken in a manner in which that sentiment doesn't clearly get reflected.
Our sentiment is very clear. Rahulji is very clear and consistent in his stand. Actually, he's the only leader who has consistently talked about the rights of the poorest of the poor in this country. Whereas what has BJP done? They have brought to the Maharashtra politics the most divisive way. Look at their slogans that they are giving. Ek hai to safe hai kya? What does this mean? It is talking about only and only divisive politics, and it is katoge to batoge politics, which people of Maharashtra will not accept. All they have done to Maharashtra, they've taken away project after project after project and taken it to Gujarat. There is high unemployment in Maharashtra. The Maharashtra treasury is empty. They have emptied 7 lakh crores
Okay, but
of
how
debt.
could all of
Exist
that
from
have happened in the
Maharashtra.
last 2 years alone? What about the time when the Mahavikas Agadi was in Maharashtra? The people have seen it all. The people have seen the Mahavikas Agadi and the development that MV has brought to Maharashtra and what the Mahayuti has done the last 2 years. So they're going to answer on the 20th. But Bhavna, let me quickly bring in others. I'll go across to Charu as well. She wants to respond to you. But Mr. C.S. Jha, how do you look at this? You know, clearly we've seen how the Mahavikas Agadi seems to be in a way banking on their Maratha Muslim Dalit model. Now, in order to counter that, we see a counter strategy on part of the Bharatiya Janata Party, the Mahayuti alliance. How are you overall viewing this, and do you think this is going to work for your alliance?
See, first thing is that caste system division is not being created by us. It is the speech which is given by Mr. Narendra Modi being the PM, as well as Mr. Yogi Adityanath, and stating that very categorically, एक है तो safe है, बटेंगे तो कटेंगे, and एक है तो safe है with regard to SC, ST, Adivasis, Dalits, everybody. So they are considering them to be divided. And they are specifically stating that within this governance period of BJP in the central as well as in the state of Maharashtra, they could not carry on the community as being non-divided, but they are considering them to be divided. Second thing is that, very vital thing is that the BJP in this whole election is not raising any issue with regard to the governance which has been carried out by this government in last 2.5 years. So the law and order situation, the industries, the development, everything is not been spoken about by even by Mr. Narendra Modi, even by Mr. Amit Shah, or any of the BJP leaders in the state itself. If you see the poll-bound speeches, so categorically they are on the losing spree. Now, third thing is that with regard to reservation, many issues have been cropped up with regard to Muslim reservation. So Muslim reservation, the issue has wholly started by BJP in the state in 2018 by Mr. Devendra Fadnavis. In 2024 itself, their alliance partner, Mr. Ajit Pawar. Now, what has happened in Andhra Pradesh, they have already given 4% reservation because they have an alliance with TDP. They are constrained to give that reservation. Now they will speak that the community is being divided. So these things are already done by BJP. This type of tactics will not work in Maharashtra. Maharashtra is still considered development, infrastructure. The industries have been
But Mr. Jha, till not too long ago, you were in support of all of these practices, you know, the ideology as well. And that's why the BJP today says that you should in fact dare Rahul Gandhi to praise Bala Saheb Thackeray or Veer Savarkar.
See, these
you know, they're
all
raising
fake,
questions on ideological aspects.
These are all fake narratives. Mr. Rahul Gandhi categorically visited Bala Saheb Thackeray recently on his ceremonial day. And everything is on record.
What about Veer Savarkar? So many warnings have been issued by your party, by Sharad Pawar, asking Rahul Gandhi to refrain from making any of those comments, but that clearly seems to be not changing anything on ground.
No. We have always said to refrain comments on Veer Savarkar ji, and we have categorically stated Bharat Ratna to Veer Savarkar ji, but BJP till date has not granted that. So everything shows how the BJP is working in the electoral politics to divide and rule. Basically, they are interested in the history of India. They will quote history of India, but they will not act in accordance with that.
Okay, Mr. Sanjay Rana, your opening remarks. What do you make of this? Is the BJP doing all of this? Ek hai to safe hai, katenge to batenge, so on and so forth, to secure the OBC vote. We know it's crucial to the election, you know, the voting that's going to take place on the 20th. We've seen what that's done to the BJP, the Mahayuti alliance in 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Do you think all of this is just being said to gather votes, to keep the Hindu vote together?
Good evening, fellow panelists. I don't think so there's any issue in that.
katenge to batenge. Obviously, Yogi Aditya is talking about the unity. He's never said it's a Hindu unity or OBC or a caste unity. He's talking about the unity, katenge to batenge. How you look at that is up to you. When we talk about the constitution and Dalits and Baba Sahib Ambedkar, then Congressy has to look at all the parameters. Obviously, they have a government in Karnataka. Who's the chief secretary of Karnataka? Dr. Shalini Rajneesh. Who's that? He's someone. We're talking with Himachal Pradesh. Who's the cabinet secretary? My name, Sanjay Awasthi, is the cabinet chief secretary. Why they're not changing the chief secretary of Karnataka, Telangana, and Himachal Pradesh? When you talk about the constitution, khatre mein, I really feel like to laugh on the merit of Mr. Rahul Gandhi. His family changed the constitution. I would not say the family. Congress changed the constitution 84 times. 90 times they have dissolved the opposition government. In their tenure, they are talking about constitution khatre mein. Which constitution they are talking about? Nehru ji did everything to make sure that Baba Sahib should lose the election, Mumbai election. And we are talking about Dalits. He was Dalit Hitachi. I don't think he was Dalit Hitachi at all. Look at the Kaka Kelkar committee when it was introduced in 1955. And when Mandal Commission came into the picture, 1990. What exactly happened? So, whenever Rahul Gandhi is talking, he's just talking on an air. He do not have any clue. I fail to understand how he's going to remove the cap of the 50%. He has a constitution right. If he's going to win the election in Maharashtra, does he have a right to change it? No. Then why is he bluffing? Why is he making fool to the people of the Maharashtra? He want to. Obviously, he is a political leader. He will give a speech. Obviously, he will try to influence the voter. That is fine. But why this kind of commitment? He has given a commitment of 8,000 rupees, taka. Where exactly all taka is gone? He has given a commitment of 1 lakh job in Himachal Pradesh. What exactly happened in Himachal Pradesh?
Well, we do know, Sanjay ji, what happened, before 2024 elections. The BJP was heavily banking on the 400 Par slogan that seemed to have backfired in a way. The Congress used it to its own advantage, and then we saw the results as we did. But I want to go across to Bhavna before I let Charu come in. Charu wants to respond since a while. Bhavna, what do you make of this overall scenario with now the BJP saying कि संविधान तो आप बदलना चाहते हैं, 50% cap को तो आप change करना चाहते हैं?
देखिए, संविधान जब when we talk about संविधान खतरे में है, we are talking about the breaking of parties, stealing of symbols that has happened under this government, under the Modi Sarkar. What Modi Sarkar wants to do is one day say in the jail there will be...
They're saying you're breaking voters on caste lines.
And then they will bring that person, as soon as that person joins the... He becomes the most cleanest... I have not spoken in between you, Sanjay. Please let me finish. So as soon as they join the BJP, they become absolutely clean and shining, and then they become the deputy chief minister. The most corrupt party, they called NCP as the nationalist corrupt party, and the very next day, a gentleman is brought in, and the very person who's accused is made the deputy chief minister. So this is their politics. Their politics is to do whatsoever it is needed to break parties, to give bribes, to put ED pressure. ED and CBI has been there. Have been misused. The country has seen it, how they have behaved. And in Maharashtra...
And 23rd November will tell, Bhavna ji, whether or not people are in support of this or not. But Charu, quickly come and respond.
Maharashtra government...
No, I'll tell you why I'm laughing, Christine, because, it seems like Congress leaders and their spokesperson live in some alternate realities, this la-la land, where they cannot read the writing on the wall. Let me just bring some things to the front. Why does a slogan for unity scare them? What is the problem in ek rahenge to safe rahenge? In fact, you should be saying fantastic slogan. We also align with it because we all talk about integration of this country and our country doing better. I cannot imagine why anybody would be against a slogan which calls for unity, the first thing. The second thing I want to say is now they are trying to paint this picture of a utopian land they want to create. Well, you had a chance to do that in Karnataka. What have you done? You go on and on about caste. You don't have the courage to release the caste census in Karnataka. Let me not even begin talking about how you have run the coffers in the state of Karnataka and Himachal Pradesh into the ground.
But they're saying butting to cutting is a problem, because then you're, in a sense, forcing the voter to vote on communal lines. That's the problem they have.
Exactly.
Yes, so I'll come to that.
Just totally communal. It's a niyat mein khot hai.
Can I just finish, please? Thank you, Bhavna. So the issue here is that Congress has caught on to the fact that their politics of divide and rule on the basis of religion is no longer working in this country, because we proudly say Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, we act on it, we deliver on it. Because every single policy of our Sarkar, whether in the center or any state, it is not divisive at all. It does not distinguish positively or negatively between people. We say that India as a whole has to progress, every section of Indian society. The Congress got uncomfortable with that. And that is exactly why they did a complete U-turn on their stand on caste, and they said, religion to kaam nahi aaya, shayad caste kaam aa jayega, and let's drive a wedge between the people.
Charu, while your intent is very clear on where these slogans are coming from, clearly your allies are also quite uncomfortable with it. So let's see how this plays out. The battle heating up with the campaigning in its last leg. So surely we're to expect lots more drama in days to come. That's all the time we have in Plain Speak. Over to Anand Narsimhan for the right stand.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. Two states in the country, Maharashtra and Jharkhand, that are going to polls are facing a similar problem. The threat of growing illegal immigrants, rising inorganic and illegal Muslim immigration into Bharat from Bangladesh and Myanmar is now a well-documented fact, and statistics to prove the same exist. A threat that has not just been raised by the security forces as an alarm, but also by the courts of our country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah have consistently spoken about this and also warned about the influx. In fact, one of the poll promises of the BJP, if they are voted to power in Jharkhand, is that they will stop this influx. They say that this unchecked, undocumented invasion will pose an existential threat to Bharat's national security and territorial integrity. The opposition, on the other hand, has accused the BJP and its allies of fear-mongering and have stated this as an attempt or an effort to try and consolidate the Hindu votes. But politics aside, a recent study by TISS, the Tata Institute